So Soul Survivor Outdoor here with Tony Smit, our area director from Texas. And we always want to make sure everybody understands that we are an outdoor adventure company focused on active duty military, something quite unique since so many folks are out there serving veterans and amazing programs out there doing that. But Soul Survivor Outdoor is focused on active duty service members, typically the 18 to 25, 6-year-olds. And so that's what we do. It's interesting that the very first event that we did in Texas was on 9/11. And that is more than a coincidence.
I think it's symbolic in some ways.
I think so. And also the fact that where were you, Tony, on 9/11? Talk about, spend, 4 or 5 minutes talking about where were you on 9/11, where those planes were coming in? Where were you at that day?
Well, I was a military working dog handler assigned to the Secret Service in New York City. Mm-hmm. And on September 11th, we were preparing for the arrival of some dignitaries that we had to do sweeps for. And we were at the Secret Service office in the World Trade Center when the first plane hit. And the loudspeakers, of course, go off right away and tell you evacuate the building. I had something in my heart. Wasn't in my head, it was in my heart, said, get an email out.
Right.
I was at my computer station, knocked out a real quick email to my mom. Say, hey, wasn't our building, we're leaving, I'm fine. And after that, go down to the lobby. And I waited in the lobby facing the towers from across the street. And we weren't allowed to leave because of what was happening on the street. And probably spent 15, 20 minutes. And then the second plane saw the explosion from that. And at this point, I don't even know it's airplanes.
Right.
We think it's bombs. So I had sent a capable dog team over to assist, along with a couple of the explosive ordnance disposal guys I worked with. They went over to see what they could do to help. I didn't have a dog with me. I was just coordinating. So all I wanted to do was get to my rental car, get back to the hotel, and then start finding my teams that are on the street, basically, coming to a meeting. So they finally allow us out of the lobby, and I walked 2 blocks uptown towards my hotel, forgetting that that's where I parked the day before. So as I turned and I was walking back down 1 block, remembering where I was parked, I look up and the first tower is starting to collapse. And after that, it was 6 miles that I had to walk back to my hotel, and it was a long walk. And on that walk, there's taxis flying by. And I'm like, why aren't they stopping?
Right.
I'm like, I'll give you like $200 cash just to get me 5-6 miles up the road. And I think they were in fear. But for me, it was get back to the hotel, or I'm on 3 different phones. I've got phones issued from my command at Camp Pendleton. I got my own personal phone, and I have a phone that's issued by the Secret Service for our UN General Assembly that I was there for.
Can I interrupt you just for a second? Mm-hmm. So you probably won't talk about this, but we know that you have awards from the Secret Service. You're a decorated Marine. You have, most folks aren't going to pat themselves on the back, and I know you won't. But just you've got some significant awards from various departments, including the Secret Service. And so I just wanted people to know that as you're telling this story.
Yeah, director citation from the director of the Secret Service that was issued through my command at Camp Pendleton.
Wow.
But that walk home, I think, where I left off, I don't know what's going on in the world today, right?
Right.
I have no access to a phone that I can actually contact anybody. But that's what I'm doing. I'm speed dialing. I've got 3 phones, each on a different phone number, trying to get a hold of my office, trying to get a hold of my family, trying to get a hold of our program manager, who was at the Pentagon. Later on found out that it was his office area that was hit that day. Finally, after maybe halfway home, halfway back to the hotel. Got a hold of my office, and they had no information about any of the other Marines that I had with me, or I had 1 airman and 5 Marines with me that were all supposed to be meeting at 9 o'clock that morning at the World Trade Center. So their whereabouts are unknown. I passed her a message, and after that, still couldn't get back to anybody else on the phone. She was a very young Marine, and what wasn't very helpful, except she did an outstanding job of relaying exactly what I told her. And but as I'm walking, talking to people on the street, trying to find out what exactly is going on. And the picture was very dark, that essentially there was a lot more buildings hit than actually were. That in some cases people were saying, we're trapped on Manhattan, we can't get out. All the bridges are down. And that LA had been hit by planes. That they said the Capitol was hit by a plane. And so just very troubling. Right. Not knowing where these Marines are, not knowing now what's going on with my family, because a lot of them are in California, in the LA area. And just overwhelming. And I reached out, and it had been a while for me. I'd had other struggles in my life, and I reached out to God. Get me through this. What's the next thing? I think in a lot of our stories in life, a lot of what we're going through, we think of it like a movie where you have a kind of a subject, and you kind of have a script. And a lot of times you know what's going to happen in the movie. But when you're going through these things in real life, you don't know what's coming next. There's all this uncertainty. Am I making the right decisions? What is my next step? Am I taking the right next step? And by reaching out to God, I think I knew I was doing the right thing, and just not going to look for people, not trying to do something else, but instead getting to a fixed position so I could reach out and find the Marines that were under my charge. So that's what I did. And by that evening, about 5 o'clock that evening, we had all but 1 Marine accounted for. And that's when I had already spoken with the hotel security, and we went to go recover his dog at 5 o'clock. And then we would be declaring him duty status unknown, whereabouts unknown, back to the command that he worked for, which was the HMX-1, Marine Helicopter Squadron. And so we went to go get his dog. I've got his dog. I've got the other 4 service members with me, and we're walking to the elevator, and there he is in scrubs.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
Coming off the elevator as I've got his dog in tow, and he's like, oh, well, what are you guys doing?
Oh, wow.
They're like, well, you kind of in the unknown land.
Right.
And he had been at a hospital to volunteer. They put him in scrubs, got him showered, and then he was an EMT. Okay. So he was waiting there for wounded. And he said, I finally left because it didn't seem like there was going to be anything to do. So, and then after that, we all just kind of got together and started talking about what had happened that day. That was one of the things that I had learned early on in my career as a Marine, as a military policeman, was you've got to talk about these things. Right. You got to get those emotions out. You got to have fellowship. Right. I think it's also the way God intended us to be. And that's to have fellowship with one another, to discuss these things and get that stuff out. Right. And so that's what we did. And the next day we went down to recover, found my vehicle. And that, I think, was very therapeutic, very helpful, very impactful for 2 of my Marines that had witnessed a lot more carnage firsthand, right in their face type of stuff. And then after that, we're stuck in New York for probably almost a month. Wow. Couldn't fly planes. Okay. Nobody was going to let me rent a car or a U-Haul to get all these guys back to California. Yeah. So we just got assignments from Secret Service, including when President Bush came down and spoke at Ground Zero. and not much need for dogs down there. If anything popped up, we were going to call them in. But it was a very chaotic situation with all of the rubble piles and machines going. They didn't stop any of it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
It was unlike any other experience I'd had in presidential detail protection, that all of the stuff going, all of the cutting materials, oxygen, acetylene, all of that stuff, they didn't clear all this out like normal.
Right.
And I think that was just kind of typical of that president and the way he did. But so I was right there when he came down off of the bus, and it was quite an experience for me to be that close to that kind of a pivotal point in our history.
Yeah.
As president kind of made some announcements at that point and pretty much said, we're going to go fight.
Right.
Which was kind of where I was when I left New York and got back to Camp Pendleton.
Right.
I was ready to go fight. I think I kind of turned towards God and said, you know what? Honestly, I need to go and get some payback for this.
Right.
I need to go kill the people that did this stuff.
Right, right, yeah.
But God had a different plan for me.
You should tell us maybe a little more about that plan. There's some pretty important things. We talked about family and all that, so there's a tie in there. Like, what did God really have intended for you?
So I got back, and the worst news you probably could have given me was that I was going to not be able to go when the Marine Corps went.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they said when I got back.
You trained all this time. You're ready to go. You were there. Other people read about it, saw it from afar, but you're in the middle of it. And so now you're like, no, we need to go do something about this right now. And that's not what happens.
There's less than 100 dog handlers in the whole Marine Corps at this point. Out of that 100, there's probably 20 that have actually deployed with a dog and were capable to do that type of deployment.
Yeah.
And I was told I'm not going.
Right.
Which shocked. It was like, there's no way.
Right.
This is unfathomable to me that I'm not going to be running my kennel of 17 dogs, 12 of which find explosives, and I'm not going to use these dogs to go and protect or do something or have anything to do with what's coming. Instead, it's get your checkout sheet, you're going on recruiting duty.
Wow.
It was a wow. It was an oh my. It was a, God, what are you doing to me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as I went and fought to not go on recruiting duty, at every turn, it was like, nah, you're going. You're going on recruiting duty.
Yeah.
And I had a Colonel Walker, was the security battalion CO, just sat down, started explaining things to me, and I was full of anger. But a peace came over me that day after he was done talking. And I was like, I'm going on recruiting duty.
Wow. Yeah.
And I went. And I got orders. I was in Sacramento out of a little contact station called Placerville. I had some relatives up there, so it was good. I got 3 years up here. In God's time and his plan, that's where I met my wife. And if you go back, and now I'm probably in my mid-30s, I'd always longed for that partner in life, for that family.
Yep.
It was a big reason I first joined the Marine Corps. And now I meet my bride. When all I wanted was war.
Right.
In my time, God delivered an amazing woman, which I would never change anything in how any of that happened. Hindsight as well, I was more prepared when probably more spiritually. My soul was more fit and ready to go.
Yeah.
When I did finally leave recruiting duty and take dogs and take them out to Iraq and then Afghanistan and do that stuff. I was in a much better place because at that point I knew God had me and that his plan was better than mine. I didn't always rely on that. I didn't always stay focused on that. That's a hindsight view that now when I'm engaging in things is at the forefront. And that's the difference of being in Christ and just running around, I guess, with our own plans and our own desires leading us. And it can be full of some agony, some frustration, some fear, some anger. When now I think there's a lot more love and a lot more kindness and definitely a lot more grace in my life.
Yeah, so these are the things, we talk about this stuff and we do a pretty short message at these events, but we talk about things like when you trust the Lord with your life, we have our plans, the Bible says, but God directs our steps. Mm-hmm. And so God clearly directed your steps, and you have this beautiful family in Texas now. And, who knows what would have happened if you had gone a different direction, but God made it clear, oh, no, you're not going that way. We're going to walk together this other direction. And so, but there's a lot of comfort in that too. And people can take comfort in the fact that, when we have these challenges, when we think we're going in a particular direction and we're aligning our lives with Him, the one who made us, created us, has that plan and purpose for us, then He's the one that ultimately will direct our steps. And that's just such an amazing message for people to hear. And then they hear it through your honesty of just sharing, what happens. And I've seen our area directors and different guest speakers and everything come to tears over their own stories because, it's so impactful, and not really trying to hold that back, because we want people to know that God loves them, cares about them, and that He is the foundation for living, that it impacts their life today and for eternity. So thanks, Tony, for sharing that. And maybe on another podcast sometime we can hear more about Jennifer and what an amazing person she is, because we all know that she is. My wife is a great friend of hers, and our wives are amazing.
They are.
They've in many ways made it possible for us to be the men that we are and do the things that we do. So thanks for being here today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you, Rick.
Mm-hmm.